In this video, I want to provide you with a demonstration on how to create window and door schedules. Just what is a window and door schedule? Well, if you'll notice on this sheet, we have all the doors that have been used in this project shown. We also have a chart just below it that contains information about these doors. If you'll notice, each door has what is called an assembly code. Think of these more like a manufacturer's code so that they can be easily purchased when the time comes for those doors to be purchased. The same thing goes for a window. These are the windows that have been used in this project. We only have 2 windows. The difference between these windows are the size of the windows. Up here with the door schedule, there are several differences with the doors. And so door schedules may have more information than window schedules and vice versa. It just depends on the windows and the doors and the difference between each of the doors. So for example, this door right here is our exterior door. These right here are the interior doors, which are more like bedroom doors or closet doors. And these last 2 doors are bifolding doors that have been used in the house. So the chart, the door schedule, has information, as you can see here on the screen. It has assembly code, count, width, rough width, head height, rough height, and function. So you can actually add more than these columns. You can add less than these. I think these kind of help distinguish the difference between all of the doors that we have used. And so really when we create it, you'll see that there are other things that you can add to your schedule. It also depends on what information you have about the door and the windows. If you do not have certain information, there's no need to include that information in your door schedule. For example, there may be a situation where you use a door for another project and it may not give you an assembly code. It may have been something that was just created by someone and it does not have an assembly code. So you'd want to figure out how you would structure or set up your door schedule so that these doors are easily distinguished between each other. Same thing goes for windows. In this case, on this project, there are only 2 windows used and they are based on their width and their height. So the width is just slightly off, just a little bit, just a few inches off from each other, but you'll notice the height is different. This shorter window is used over a sink or in the kitchen area, and the rest of these windows have all been used throughout the rest of the house. So that's kind of what a window and door schedule is. Now I'm getting ready to show you how to actually create this. So this is the floor plan that I want to create a window and door schedule for. So the first thing you'll probably want to do is get a scratch sheet of paper or actually print out your floor plan so that you can write out some information. So we're going to create the door schedules first. And the first thing you'll want to do is just start at some point in your house. Just click on the door. And so I'm going to start with this front door. And then you just want to write down the name that that door has and also the dimensions that that door has. Usually all the information that you need to be able to create this window and door schedule is shown right here. So once you do that, you just kind of write that information down, click on your next door, and you'll notice this is the same door, same type of door used for the front and the back. And then you just start going to the inside doors, the interior doors, click on those, and you want to write down the name and the size that were used for that door, and then so forth and so on. You'll go through your whole house and just kind of write that short information down because the next step is going to require you to know that information. So we have the bifolding doors that were used for closets, and we have regular doors that were used for the bedroom and the bathrooms. And so you'd want to just click on those doors again, write down the name, write down the size, and you're getting ready to see why we need that information in just a moment. So there are 2 parts to this to create the door schedule and the window schedule. So when we say schedule, we actually mean mean two things. So we mean the actual windows that were shown, but also the chart that is shown. And so we're going to do that two different ways. So the way that we show the doors is done one way, and the way that we create the schedule or the chart is done in a different way. So the first thing we want to do is go to View, and then we're going to choose Legends. We're just going to create a legend, and we're going to call this, just simply call it Doors, and just click OK. Notice my scale is set to 3/16 of an inch. The scale for my floor plan is set to 1/4 of an inch. So now that I know that is different, I'm going to go ahead and change that to match my floor plan. So I'm going to click OK. And now if you've done Legends before on other projects, you'll see that you're given just a blank space to be able to work. And what we're going to do is we're going to pull the doors over into this blank area. We're going to line all of these things up. We're going to add a couple dimensions, and so it'll actually go pretty quick once you figure out how this works. It works just like a legend that you do for any other like an electrical legend or a plumbing legend. So in your Rivet file, if you'll scroll down to where all your families are listed, there is a category called Doors. So as I told you, if you wrote down the name that you have for each of your doors, this is going to make it much easier. So we have these two that we have used. So we have door exterior single entry half flat glass wood clad, and then we have the interior door and the bifolding door. So I'm just going to click on, start with my exterior door first, and I'm going to open this up, and there's the only size that I have. So this is going to make it really easy. We're just going to click on this size, and then we're going to drag it over into this blank screen. So once it comes over, it's going to look like it does in a floor plan. Up here, you'll see View. Right now, it is set to Floor Plan. So we're going to change that to Elevation Front. And then it will look like what the door looks like from someone looking straight at it. So we're just going to place that door. I'm going to hit Escape. And then I'm going to go back over here to the families. And I'm going to open up the interior doors category here, and then I'm just going to simply begin to pull over the doors that are used here. So actually I think all these doors are being used in this project. So I'm just going to simply click on this 18-inch by 80-inch, and I'm just going to click on it and drag it over. Again, I'm going to have to change the view to Elevation Front, and I'm just going to place it. Then I'm going to do the same thing for the 30 by 80. And then I'm going to change that to Elevation Front. And I'm going to do the same thing for 32 by 80. And I will change that to Front. So I'm just going to place these there. I'll line these up in just a moment. I'm going to hit Escape just so I can go to my next door. And I'm going to go ahead and get the bifolding door. So I'm going to open that up. And I'm going to get, let's see which one I want to grab here. So I'm going to grab the 5-foot door, which is this 60 by 80. And again, this is where you're going to want to make sure you have the right size. And I'm going to change this view from floor, change it to front. And I'm going to place it. And then we're going to go to, let's see, 72 by 80. And we're going to drag it over, change that elevation to front. And we're going to place it right there. Now, next thing we want to do is start lining these things up. And the easiest way I found to do this is I go to Annotate. I'm going to go to Detail Line. And then I'm going to change my line type here from thin lines. I'm going to use a color that I can see so that if I need to delete it, I can easily see the line that I need to delete. So I'm going to click on Lines. And I'm just going to start right here on this corner of the door, of this exterior door. And as I'm kind of guiding this line, I'm just going to start typing 6 foot, and I'm going to hit Enter. So that's the end of my 6 foot. So I found to space these things out because we're going to be adding dimensions to them, and it's going to get really jam-packed. So it may look like we have a lot of extra space here, but as we work through this, you'll see that we end up probably needing some more space in some areas. So when I first did this, I put my doors in and I didn't have enough space, so I had to go back and change. So what I do is I kind of split these up so that I have my exterior doors kind of by itself, and then I have the next set of interior doors kind of by themselves. For example, these doors right here may be made by the same manufacturer, they just are different widths. So I want to kind of group all of them together. So I'm going to go to detail line. I'm going to start a new line here, and this time I'm going to put 3 foot because these are kind of grouped together, so I want them to be a little bit closer together. And then I will click on this door. I'm going to go to move, and then I'm going to move this door down to the end point of this line. And then I will do the same thing again. So this time we'll start here, 3 foot. I will click on this door and go to move, and then I will move it down. So I'm going to delete that line, and then I'm going to go to detail line again, and because this is a new set, this is a different kind of door, I'm going to type in 6 foot. And it also, the space that you have between all these doors also depends on the amount of space you have on a sheet. So sometimes you can fit, if you only have 1 or 2 types of doors that you're using throughout the whole project, you could probably get away with less space. But in this case, we have a good bit of doors, so we have to have pretty much a whole sheet just for the doors and the windows. So I'm going to delete that line. I'm going to go to detail line. I'm going to draw a 3 foot line here, and then I'm going to move this one down into place. So I'm going to delete that. Now, although I was using lines here, what I want to do is click on detail line. I want to start a line that goes from right here. This is really a reference line for the floor. So we're going to add some dimensions, and we want the person looking at these sets of doors to know, or at least visualize, that this is the floor. So I'm going to click on that line, just kind of drag it just to extend it just past each side, the left side of this door and the right side of this door, and then kind of make it close. It doesn't really have to be any particular size. So now I have them all lined up. I want to just simply add some dimensions. So I'm going to go to aligned, and I'm going to simply start with, this is the frame, this is the trim, so I'm going to put a dimension from here to here, and that's the width. And then I'll do one from the very outside to very outside here, and I will place that right there. And I'm also going to do the height for the same dimensions. So I'm going to start with my floor and just start just to this inside right there. Place it right there. And then I'll go from the top of that door to our floor, and I'll place it right there. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the other doors. Now, because these are grouped together, and because we're going to see that they actually have the same assembly code or manufacturer's code, I don't have to put all the height dimensions for all of these doors. So I am going to do the widths. I'm going to let it guide and line up to the other dimensions that I added. I'm going to do the same thing again. Actually, that one didn't go all the way up, so let's do that. I'll adjust that text in just a moment. Make sure you grab the right line. And notice it doesn't matter what order of the dimensions that you pick. And now we're going to do the height dimensions for these doors. So we're going to pick the floor. We're going to pick just to the top of that part of the door, and then the very top of the frame itself. And then, so because these all have the same height, we can kind of keep them all together. And if we wanted to add a little bit more clarity, we could add a dashed line that kind of connects up the top of these doors, so that someone who's looking at this would see. For example, you could go into annotate detail line and change your line type to hidden. We're going to use this for something else later on. So we're going to click here and just kind of draw a dashed line right there, and then a dashed line there. That would just let the viewer know that these have the same height, the same kind of door, just different widths. So you notice that my 1 foot dimension here is kind of chopped off by the extension line. So I'm going to click on this dimension. I want to leave it in its place. I'm going to grab this little dot, and I'm going to pull the text out just like that. So if you have a very thin door, you can do the same thing. Next, we're going to do the same thing for these doors here. So I'm going to go to aligned and start with the actual width here, and then the frame. Do the same thing with this one. And so because these are kind of grouped, same manufacturer door, I can do the same thing that I did with those other doors. So I might just go to annotate, detail line, change this back to hidden, which is right there towards the top, and draw a line just so they'll know that those kind of go together. Before I go any further, I'm going to change this back to lines. And so now we have all of our doors set up. The last thing we need for this so-called door legend is some text. So we're going to click on text. And I've already have my codes written down, so you'll want to write your code down, and I'll show you how to find that in just a second. But my code is B2030100, and just click like that. So I'm just going to kind of center this, and what I like to do once I place it is kind of fix the alignment, and then slide it up, get it right in this place. And then what I'm going to do is just go to copy. I'll make sure multiple is selected. I really won't use multiple right now, but I'm going to place just one text right here. Actually, all of these have the same code made by the same manufacturer. This is probably not actually true, but according to what I've written out here, they all have the same code. And so the last thing is this door here. And then this one is going to be C1020. And then I'm going to click on it and slide it over, just kind of center it. And then I'm going to add the text there. Again, just want to put those texts. So again, the way you find your code is you click on your door. And obviously I can't do it here. Let's go to the floor plan. So one thing I found pretty useful in doing all of this is you want to make sure that you have the floor open and the doors. So you can flip back and forth. So one neat thing is you can click on a door, go back to your floor, and it doesn't do it here. But I know in the chart you can click on your door and it'll actually highlight, so it'll let you know what door you're working with. But the way you find your codes, you just click on the door, and you would want to go to edit type, and if you'll scroll down you will see assembly code, and you'll just write that number down. So that'll be what we appear in there. There's also type mark. It just really depends on what type of information you have. So I just found this just to kind of make it stand out, and then I will click OK. Actually, let's check this. Let's check these doors right here, edit type, and we're going to scroll down. Actually, this is going to be C, so that's going to be the interior door code. So I do need to change those. C1020300. And so all of those should have the same code. So there's a width. Let's check this one. Edit type. I'm going to scroll down, and it has the same code. So what I'm going to do is go back here, and this is needs to change. So even the original example that I have is incorrect. So we'll change this to 1020300. Come on. C. There you go. C1020300. And then what I'll do is I'll just delete these. Click on this text and copy it over. And then once I copy it, I can, if it looks like it needs to be slid back over just a little bit, I can do that. That looks okay. So there's all my codes for my door. So that's the door legend. Now let's create the schedule itself, or the chart itself. So I'm going to go back And it really doesn't matter where you do this at, but you're going to go to annotate. Actually, you're going to go to view, and you're going to choose schedules. And then you're going to choose schedule quantities. What you do is going to ask you what type of schedule do you want to create. You just scroll down until you find doors, and then you're going to click OK. And then, like I said, we're going to have assembly code, so I want to add that. So I'm going to hit this button right here to add this parameter. And then I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to find count. I'm going to add that. That'll tell me how many of a certain type that we have. I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going next get width. And these will be all mixed up. These will not be in any particular order. So you're going to have to kind of know what information you want to include, what information you have about your door. So we're going to choose head height. Let's see. And then we're going to do rough height. You can actually rename these, but I'm just going to keep what they have. The last one I'm going to choose is function. I mean, you could put a description and you could put some information in there, but I just want people to know that it's an exterior door or an interior door. So function lets me do that without having to type anything in. That's already a preloaded area. So I'm just going to click that. Next thing to do is just click OK. Once you have all your categories or your columns set in here, you just click OK. So now you see that we have a door schedule, and you'll notice that we have all of these right here, and you'll notice we have a 2'8", 2'8". So this is a lot of information. We have 2 exterior doors. So I want to show you how to simplify this. For example, we have 3 of these doors, and they're all the same width. They're all the same rough width, and they're all the same head height and rough height. So we want to group those together. So if you scroll down under properties and you find sorting and grouping and hit edit, first thing I want to do is I want to sort this chart by first assembly code, and we'll go ascending. That means the smallest one, or the B code will go first, and then we're going to sort by we'll do width. And then the last thing we're going to do is uncheck itemize every instant. So right now in this chart, it's showing every instant. Every door is being listed in this chart. It will, when we uncheck this, they'll still be listed, but you'll see the count will change. So this will have C1020300 will now have 3. So we're going to uncheck that, and we're going to click OK. And it's going to update, and you'll notice that it updates and it sorts everything in order. So now let's start putting this stuff on a sheet. If you will scroll down to your sheets, you'll see that the last sheet, the architectural sheet that we created, is A5 colored plan. That's our colored floor plan and legend. We do not have an A6 for window and door schedule. So we're going to right click on sheets, and we're going to say new sheet, and we're going to choose the CEA 11x17, and we're going to click OK. These are already preloaded into the file that I'm working in. And I'm going to click OK. And so I want to rename this. It went automatically to the last one of the last sheets that I have, P3. We want to right click on it and just go to rename. We're going to change this from P3 to A6, and the name, which will appear in the title block, will be window and door schedules, and we'll click OK. And so you'll notice it fits it in place. So the first thing we need to do is just scroll up, and so we see our legend here, our door legend. So we're going to click on this doors legend and just drag it over. When I let go, I'm going to place it up towards the front, or towards the top, I should say, of this sheet. And then I'm going to scroll down. Here's my schedules. If you've never created a schedule, you're not going to see that until you create one. I've already created a room schedule, and of course you saw me create the door schedule. So I'm going to click on my door schedule, and I'm going to click on it and drag it over. And then I'm just going to place it. So you'll notice on my door schedule, there's some spaces here. There's some things that need to be kind of adjusted. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to click on this little arrow right here until everything gets to a single line. And what I'm going to do is just let assembly code, I'm not going to let it stack. So I'm going to go to rough width here, head width height, and then rough height. And I just want a single row kind of schedule, so then I can kind of slide this down. So now we're going to do a similar thing for the windows. The same thing we did for the doors, we need to do for the windows as well. So we're going to scroll up and we're going to go back to floor plan. And again, I would recommend that you get a scratch sheet of paper and just start somewhere. So for example, I'm just going to start on this window right here. This is double hung with trim, 36 by 48. And so then I'm going to go to this next one. So after I write that information down, this is going to be 32 by 36. And I'm going to click on that one. Same as the last one I just chose. This is same as the very first one I chose. And so you'll just want to go around and just write down the information, the name and the width and the height information that is shown right here. So once you do that, and the good thing about windows are they're only located around the perimeter of your home, so it makes it really quick and easy. So I only have 2 types of windows for this house. So again, we're going to go back to view and then legends, and we're going to create us a new legend, and we're going to call this one windows. And I'm going to leave my scale the same as the floor plan, and I'm going to click OK. And so I'm going to go down, scroll down to my families in the project browser, and I'm going to find my windows. I'm going to go ahead and collapse that, my doors, and I'm going to scroll down until I find windows. This should be the very last one. I'll open it up. So I had double hung with trim. I'm going to open that up. So I have a lot of sizes, so it's really important that you write down your sizes. So the first one is 32 by 36. So that was one I wrote down. So I'm going to click on it and drag it over. And just like the doors, it's going to show you what it looks like in the floor plan view. I want to change that to front. And I'm going to just place it on my screen. My next window, so I'm going to hit escape, is 36 by 42 or 48. So I'm going to click on that 36 by 48. I'm going to drag it over, and then I'm going to change this to elevation front, and then I'm just going to place it right here. Now what we need to do is add the floor line. So we're going to go to annotate, and we're going to go to detailed line, and I'm going to leave it on lines, and I'm just going to draw a floor line, and we're going to actually offset this line up so that it is at certain points. And so we need to figure out what those points are, and I need to explain what I'm talking about. So I'm going to go back to floor, which is the tab I already have open. And so I'm just going to click with the smallest window first. They're located here and here. So I'm going to click on that window, and you'll notice that it has some information here that I need. So we got seal height. So we need to write down that seal height, which is 3 foot 8 inches. We also need another number, and that is going to be the head height. That is going to be 6 foot 8 inches. And so we're going to go back to Windows, our Windows legend, and I'm going to offset this line first. I'm going to start with, I can do 6 foot 8. It's already loaded in here. I've already used that number before. So I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to change that one to 3. And so those two lines represent the height, the head height, and the seal height. So let's go here. Come on. There we go. And so now I have the ground, and then we have this one. So we need to lower this window so that it is where it's supposed to be. So I'm going to click on this one, and I'm going to go to move. The seal height is actually right here. So we're just going to click on that point and drag it straight down to that line. And then that is automatically where the head height is going to be. And so we're going to just click on this one and drag it down. And because they're similar to each other, they will match up, they'll line up. So the top of this window will line up with the top of that one because they have the same head height. Makes it a little bit easier. So we really only need that information for one. And so next thing we need to do is simply, I'm going to shorten this line, and actually I'll keep this one the same for both of them. So let me just undo what I just did. But I do want to shorten this one, because this one's going to have a different sill height than this one. So let's go back to floor. Let's pick on this window here. We'll see that the sill height is 2'8". So I'm going to offset this floor line. Save my project. 2'8". And then I'm going to shorten that one. So I'm going to make these dashed lines. These are points of reference for someone to see that what we're referring to is the sill height and the head height. Kind of line all those up there. Again, these are just reference lines, but I am going to click on this one. I'm going to hold down Control on my keyboard, and I'm going to pick my other lines. I'm going to change these from lines to hidden. So the line type will change. And then all I need to do is go to Annotate and go to Aligned, and I'm going to add the dimensions. So I'm just going to choose the floor line, and then this line makes it so much easier to dimension when you have those points already, or those lines drawn. So then we're going to go, because they have the same height, I don't need to give another height, but I do need to give a sill height. So I'm going to click this line, and I will click something like that. And then I think we have the, let's delete this stray line here. We need to get some text. So I would go to my window, and I would click on my window, and I would get that assembly code that I showed you earlier. And that is what my assembly code is, B2020-100. Again, every window and door, depending on where you got that symbol from, may have a different one, but we're just going to basically pretend these are manufacturer's codes or something, and we'll just work with that. It'll just give us a nice thing to work with. So I'm going to place my text right there. So as you can see, I placed that code there, but my text is a little bit too close. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to drag this up like that. And there's my window legend. Now let's create our Windows chart, our schedule. So we're going to go back to View, and we're going to go to Schedule, our quantities, located right here. We're going to scroll down and look for Windows, and we're going to click OK. And we're going to choose, I've already done this, so I'm going to choose assembly code. I'm going to choose count. And we don't need nowhere near as much information. You could put material in here. For the Habitat for Humanity project, it was supposed to be vinyl windows, so you could pull that in there. But I'm not quite sure that that's what's loaded for these windows, so I'm not going to put that. So I'm just going to find the width next, because we always talk about windows by their width. And then I'm going to pull in their height. I think that's all the information that I'm going to pull in there. And again, you may have to do this and see what information you're given before you really kind of set yourself on certain fields or categories that you want to have in your chart. So I'm going to click OK. It's going to take me to a window schedule, and as you can see before, it has cost. I need to change that, so I'll scroll down here, and I need to go to fields, and I need to check out cost. I need to go to count, and I'm going to move that up by clicking this option right here, and I'm going to click OK. So now it's got the count in there like it's supposed to. I'm going to hit sorting and grouping, and just like I did last time, I'm going to sort this by assembly code and then by width. I think that's a nice to show the difference between these windows, because all of these are the same. The only thing that's different is the width and the height. So I'm just going to sort them based on the width here. And so I'm going to itemize every inch. I'm going to uncheck that, and then I'm going to click OK, and it will sort everything. And the last thing we need to do is go to our sheet, and then while we're here, scroll up to our Windows legend. Just click on, drag that over, and we're going to place it right about here. And then I'm going to go to my window schedule, and I'm going to drag it over and place it right here. Again, we got some little adjustments we need to make to get this one length here. Then I can shorten that, shorten that, shorten that. And now we have our window door schedule. That's how you make it.